Hi guys, welcome to SavvyMoneyShow. Me, your host Sean. Today we're talking about SVB, SBNY, the Fed bailout, HSBC and what it means. So let's get into it, shall we? Well, unless you have been living under a rock this weekend, the Fed and FDIC have agreed to guarantee the depositors money, and this sets a precedent, which means that any bank can be as risky as it wants with the money and they will effectively bail them out, while they say this is not a bailout. Why would they do this? Well, they are worried about a bank run and a contagion on all the other banks as a result of this. And they think the domino effect will cause more than the 25 billion they set aside for this. By my calculations, if you will remember my Discord or you saw my other video, you see some funds offered 60 cents on the dollar on deposits, and Jeffries offered 70 cents on the dollar deposits. That, along with the insured amount, would mean there would be 10 to 15 billion, 10 to 25 billion shortfall. I'm going to assume 15 billion of that 25 billion would be set aside for SVB and 10 billion set aside for Signature Bank, which has since been closed Sunday evening. Now, the way these banks have been closed have been very unusual. What usually happens is FDIC closes a bank at 5 p.m. on Friday afternoon, works all weekend to try and get it sorted out or to sell it so that it can open on Monday. SVB closed early on Friday, which was unusual in itself, and Signature Bank closed Sunday evening, so they had no chance to try and sell it. Now, unless you don't know, Signature is a crypto bank, but we're going to deal with the SVB situation first of all. Don't forget to hit the lovely like button and sexy subscribe button, and don't forget the bell notification. You'll be notified when a new video gets uploaded, and the free links in the description below. You can pick up a free share worth up to £200, and check out our Discord. And if you want a more in-depth analysis of any stock or market conditions, then why not look at our upgraded membership program and support us. Now, I am wondering if the Fed would have come out with this if the HSBC sale had gone through quicker. They'd already put through a huge amount to one side for the big 8 banks. The Fed claims it's not at taxpayer expense, but if you look at what the Fed's been doing with quantitative tightening, it brings in 90 billion a month. But with the prices of the shares they're tightening, they're not exactly making a huge profit on it. They did at the beginning when they started quantitative tightening, but now so they're saying we'll take 25 billion of that and use that. However, that is money that's already come from their books, so they can't just do that. They have to start the printers again, and although it's not coming out of the taxpayer's purse, it will be kicked, the can will be kicked down the road again, which is what happened with the COVID funds, and what helped start inflation. Now, every American owes a massive amount of money already because of national debt, and it's rising daily. We already know from this a majority of banks do not insure most of their deposits, and the Fed from this is looking whether or not to charge for the deposit insurance. Now, this could go either way. We know the FTSE is going to go down because of HSBC taking on all this debt. If HSBC didn't buy it, I would have looked through the investor list of SVB, which is here, and I would have seen which ones to buy puts on, because everyone is focusing on Roku and the likes, but no one's looking at the investors. And while everyone's talking about Roku, no one's thinking how are Disney or ARK Invest affected, as they have huge investments in there. Or the fact that Etsy had so much in there, which they refused to inform people of, that they couldn't pay sellers. They had to suspend seller payments. Now, is this going to be it, all over and done with? I think not. You know, the Fed actually spoke about worldwide finance, how it could affect worldwide finance, and it also spoke about bringing faith back into the banking system. I think it's good they didn't do a full bailout where they just signed a blank check to the banks like they did with the financial crisis, because people would have been out in the streets over that. But it does set a precedent, and I do think it's risky. This is, if you were banking with one of these banks, you will be glad with this, but I think the Fed should have waited until the end of the auction and then used it as proof that they weren't going to backstop all these banks that don't act properly. But we know that they don't care if people are dying, starving in the streets or freezing to death, as long as the rich friends, the CEOs, are okay, and as soon as a bank is in trouble, they do what they can. I bet you the SEC doesn't even investigate the board's sales of shares, which was the only time they had sold shares up to a week before the bank was closed. Roger Hamilton has spoken about this being a global crisis. News this week from Fortune.com. A future of Credit Suisse in question after scandal-plagued bank has just lost its most loyal investor. He owned a tenth of the company and he's sold it all. Now, you have to wonder, is this just the start of something? Because, as I said in my last video, there were a few things that caused SVB to go down. you had, of course, contributing factors were the likes of the tech crash. Well, people call it a crash, but I call it a correction. Although technically it is a crash, it got too bubbly and they corrected to reasonable values. So where SVB is a niche bank that only invests in tech startups, a lot of their customers came looking for money. The other thing is it insists that as part of the loan agreement, all of their customers keep all their money with them, which is why only 3% had less than 250,000 with them, because otherwise it would have been a breach of their loan agreement. The main contributing factor, of course, is that SVB lobbied the Fed, as a main board member was actually a member of the Fed at the time, and to loosen restrictions on regional banks. At the time, you had all banks were allowed to put up to 15% of their funds into bonds, and afterwards only 7% was allowed to go into bonds from the big banks, and to keep the liquidity out in the bond market, they allowed the regional banks to put 25% of their money. So SVB went in 2020, 2021 and bought a lot of bonds at 1.7%, thinking the Fed wasn't going to raise rates. And that gamble backfired on them. Now, if they held them to maturity, it wouldn't have mattered, because they would have got back what they put. From every $100, they'd have got $108. But because bonds nowadays have gone up to 5%, 4 to 5%, basically for every $100 you put in now today, you'll get $138 back after the 4 years. So what they had to do when there was a bank run was sell those bonds for 77 cents on the dollar, and that caused a $1.5 billion shortfall. And then what happened was they tried to do an offering for 2.25 billion, and that offering fell through because their share price started tanking when there was rumours of them not being liquid enough. So all of these contributed to it. Anyway, that's me for now. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe and comment in the box below. Thank you for watching. If you found any of my videos helpful and you want to help me make more, you can support me by buying me a coffee. The link is in the description below.